Okay. Uh, Hello, my YouTube audience. This is Liz V. Valentine. Uh, Most likely, uh, you are from a Discord that I have posted this video in, but there's also a good chance that you may be a random viewer from somewhere across the internet. I have heard that the YouTube algorithm is a bit can be a little more forgiving these days. Uh, so, as the title of the video may imply, we're gonna I'm gonna have a little bit of a devlog here, because in case you don't know, I make video games, and devlogs appear to be a quite popular way to gain publicity with video games, and I would love some publicity. My intentions are quite clear. So, this is just a little bit of a fighting game that I've been working on in a Common Lisp, utilizing Raylib functionality for some platform layer stuff. Make sure yeah, that shows up on the recording good. Uh, so it's not really anything particularly special right now. Uh, the player characters can move to a degree. There is no real physics or anything. Uh, they have animations, some of them with hitboxes and hurtboxes. Uh, Nothing can really happen when those hitboxes and hurtboxes interact. And obviously, the boxes are also blatantly incorrect with alcohol on the right. Uh, got a little bit of an editor here, uh, written in immediate mode style. If I can pull up the code, it should be right here. Yeah. So all that's happening here is we start the UI window, uh, and it's some basic conditions. I'm sure many of my viewers may not be very familiar with Common Lisp, so the syntax might be quite foreign or difficult to understand. But if I just use the parentheses in Common Lisp are not particularly important. Obviously, they denote the beginning and end of a list or a function call or whatever else. But most Lisp programmers simply it's filtered out by their brains. Uh, and when you filter the parentheses out, it's a bit more readable, I'd say. Uh, we'll turn those back off because I don't particularly need to work that way. I much prefer rainbow blocks mode. Uh, some may disagree, but this is simply how I've chosen to work for the time being. Uh, so the functionality for the UI is often this different file. Uh, I've got a little accessor macro from off somewhere on the internet there. I'm not quite using it anywhere yet, but maybe it'll prove useful because some of these cases where I'm really chaining these accessors uh, can tend to be a little obnoxious to work with at times. But we can refactor all this stuff later. That's what Common Lisp was good at. And what I was hoping to do was maybe go step by step along the process of developing a widget, as many UI developers would call it. So what I'm gonna need to be able to do next with the editor window here is display a texture. Right now, all of the sprites loaded in the game are simply textures. And that might not be very performant for the future, but we'll just have to see about that. So if I just allow me to make the development window a little smaller, we can cover the top of the REPL with that. We can get to work here. So okay. Rainbow Blocks mode is a little bit of a... It can refuse to update the rendering at times. Typically, you just need to refresh it every so often. But it's not a huge deal when you're really in the mines. It's not a... doesn't take much. So, okay. So let me refresh myself on this is how classes work in Common Lisp. Many people are not the biggest fans of object-oriented programming, but I do not feel that the way Common Lisp implements classes is particularly shoddy. As a language, it's obviously already going to be very garbage collected in comparison to something like C, which I'm much more used to working with. If you're not familiar with me, then you likely wouldn't know that I used to work in Game Maker for about 8 years, which I then transitioned to working in C earlier this year, and Common Lisp is a bit more of a newer adventure for me, and that's kind of why this is the Common Lisp fighting game. But it's also, I refer to it personally as a not reload, in reference to Guilty Gear XX Reload, because I believe it is a very underappreciated entry of the series. With that in mind, so, okay. Got width, height, and center. So, let is used for local variable binding. Let with an asterisk is used to do them in sequence rather than parallel. This lets you refer to previous local variables when you're defining them. So I'll type be fairly similar to... It'll be fairly similar to the button code, but we can copy paste this stuff. Obviously Emacs is my editor of choice, but I don't feel like I need to justify my editor quite yet, so I just won't for now. Because it's a little devlog to get started. So, with an eye, yep, pretty basic stuff. So I don't believe I will have to... I don't believe I need any additional definitions, so we can push a new draw call to the UI call stack. Maybe call stack isn't the quite correct term, but it doesn't matter for the time being. So we don't have the... So in C, I would probably use enums or something for this. In Common Lisp, it's keywords. And keywords are not particularly difficult to work with. There's a little bit implicit stuff going on, but let's make sure. Yup, okay, text. So, mm-hmm. And I don't believe I'll need anything else for rendering the sprite. So let's just add the case. So this is obviously very similar to switch case in a more traditional C-like language. So in this case, we just add the sprite keyword that we've defined in the UI image function call. So what's the accessor? Yeah, draw text. Okay. So it's just, yeah, so draw sprite, I don't have the best memory with this kind of thing. You'll have to forgive my amateur production. I don't tend to put too much effort into my videos, but that might change in the future. So draw sprite, position, so then it's scale and rotation. So basic vector and no rotation. And if I'm to put it bluntly, it is likely that this is going to not, it's going to render off center, but that's probably going to be fine. So we can copy paste this little bit of code from the button because the functionality here is quite similar. So, okay, formatting's all good. Out, same line, yup. Calculate size. all checks out. Let's see. Let's raw push. Texture, I see. Okay. Compilation successful. The image didn't shit itself. So now we'll go test by so yeah. Well, no, that's the rendering. Okay. So okay, having asterisks. Don't know asterisks around spur alk yet. So let's just draw the idle. And I see. Right, the sprite, the source files are from Devlog Title Lumina. Obviously, these are placeholders. They're big. They're not cropped. Might have to fix that sometime. For the time being, let's make the draw call render correctly. Oh boy. So draw position should just be the call plus origin. The how do I fucking whatever. Couldn't be more efficient if I want to be fancy, but if all goes well, then okay. She's a real girl. Would you look at that? This right now shows up in the window. Let's see. Could go over the plans I have for this fighting game if I wanted, but that should probably be good enough for the time being. So, with that all out of the way, suppose it's time to say my goodbyes. I do hope that any viewers have a good rest of your day or evening. And we'll likely see each other again eventually. Goodbye, fellas.